Well, welcome back to a special episode of Free Gold.
Hashtag
what's up? I like long hashtags. Do you like long hashtags? Like hashtags people can't even read. Like German hashtags. Like hashtag I really wanted donuts, but I need to work out and my wife won't let me eat them. Just throw that out to Instagram. Do they work? Do those work for like long tail hashtags?
Yeah, probably not.
Okay, so this special episode of Free Gold, we're going to talk long tail. No, we're going to talk about just business growth in general. Help me understand how to be successful in digital marketing as a whole, right? Which I think is just a very loaded question. So we figured we would brew a cup of coffee and just sit here and have a little coffee chat with you. So I know back in a former life when we would be on stage with Google, we would say, hey, you know, everybody out there, you need to be everywhere all the time. And hearing Ben Tyson from Google say that made me feel like, man, I'm the only one here with one job. Because I'm an internet marketer, you're a plumber, you're an electrician, you're a veterinarian, you're a dentist, and you're an internet marketer. And I think that can get really daunting, right? So let's start from scratch. I think the elephant in the room is that word of mouth by far and away is going to be the best form of marketing, right?
100%. You can start your business with it. You can grow your business with it, scale it. Word of mouth is always the best form of advertising.
I think you don't hear that enough from marketing companies because unfortunately we can't charge you for word of mouth advertising, right? How many people did you tell about your business this week? 200? We need $2 a piece. I mean, it just doesn't, you know, so as a result, it's like, hey, you need to optimize on Google. You need to be doing paid search. But the bottom line is if you have a great product, you can create that kind of cult following right away just by having an amazing product and getting everybody who comes in to bring two more people in, and that can really grow a business from there.
I think grassroots marketing is one of the best places to start. I mean, in all honesty, if you're just starting a business, you don't need a whole lot of money to put towards marketing. It's always a good idea to have it. But yeah, those little grassroots tactics of, hey, bring a friend, get 10% off, or you know, come in and get buy one, get one free for the first week, whatever the case may be, but some sort of incentive to help drive traffic. And then, as you mentioned, if you have a good product, it's going to spread.
Right on. Let's take a quick step back. You have got to have, in 2018, 2019, and moving forward, you've got to have an amazing brand. Yep. Unlike any other time in marketing history, people get to know you and your philosophy and your employees and everything is online on your social media profiles, etc. So they really get to know what your company is all about. So before you start doing anything, you've got to refine that brand, the culture. We were at BlackRock earlier. You go to one, you go to the next one. It's like we go to Dutch Bros all the time. It's like you're always at the same place because their culture is just super consistent. And yes, we drink way too much coffee. But once you have that brand in place, then you can start driving people to it because now everybody knows what to expect and you know that you kind of streamline that customer experience.
Well, it's uniform. I mean, if I have a great experience and you're doing the same steps every single time, then I know that when I tell my wife or a friend or, you know, my mom or whoever that person may be, hey, you got to go check these guys out. I know that they're going to get that same experience because it's the culture.
But what you're telling me is that a positive culture can like make me want to refer you, and a negative culture will just absolutely kill your business because we all know word of mouth works both ways.
Yeah, it does, and probably even faster on the negative end than it does on the...
Right? Word of mouth positive is a walk and negative reviews are a run.
Yeah.
Which I think throws us right into reviews, which is another grassroots way to grow your business. We recommend starting out on Google first. Of course, Facebook and Yelp are great ways to do it. But Google, they're not going to extort you, and you can actually keep your reviews online. Yelp, we hate you. I'm sure every business owner is laughing right now because they hate you too. But getting those online reviews early on are huge. So having some sort of a campaign, a contest, a giveaway to just say, hey, whether it's good or bad or indifferent, post your experience on Google. Here's an easy way to do that.
Well, and I know for us, you know, getting into it, I would always send my clients pretty much everything they needed. Originally, before we started utilizing a system that would kind of put together campaigns, I would simply have a templated email that would have links to our Facebook, to our Google, to our Yelp, obviously Google first, And I would just say, hey, if you had a great experience, I would love for you to leave it on one or all three of these links. If for whatever reason you felt that I did not provide at least 4-star service to you, I would love for you to either reach out or, explain to me why that is. Now there's a lot of services that will kind of do that for you. But that was a great way to get reviews. People didn't have to really think about anything. They could simply click a button, took them right to our Google Plus page, or Google My Business page, I should say, took them right to our Facebook page, and they were already there.
Right. Not to get hung up on it, but I mean, I love what we did because we were not trying not to get negative reviews. I welcomed the negative reviews so that you and I could do something about it. We'd make sure that it rooted out, because I think when you're talking about branding and culture, if you double down on a negative culture like we were talking about and you don't know that that's what you're doing, you're kind of poisoning the business from the ground up as it's getting started. So, okay, so we have branding, we have culture, we have online reviews growing, and of course now it's time to talk websites, because we can't really start talking about driving people to an online culture unless you have a website.
And actually, I just had this conversation. I spoke to a group of interior designers and house stagers, and the whole speech was about, do I go social media? Do I do a website? What's the difference? Pros, cons. In short, social media is something that you're never going to own. You're always renting space on somebody else's property. So the moment Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, Snapchat decides, hey, you can be here and you can post all you want, but it's going to be $50 a month, are you still going to be there? If they turn around tomorrow, Facebook decides to sell the business and that business decides they're going to turn it into something completely different, are you still going to be there? You only have the limitations of what they allow you to have. Right. Whereas with a website, you can actually build your brand, create your brand, and showcase your business the way that you feel it should be represented.
Well, always bring up the Judge Judy episode you showed me, because that 30-second clip was priceless. If we can find that, we need to link that for them below.
Have it.
Or just upload it to the channel. But basically, she was vacillating between the plaintiff and the defendant, and then she said, well, hey, do you have a website? He said no, and she just immediately gavelled down, like, well, then you're not a business, right? So I think a lot of times, Kyle asked the question earlier, why would I go back to a website when it's so easy to just post on social media? And credibility, it was my first answer.
100%. I mean, it's a proven statistic from Marketing Land. 80% of consumers find a business not credible if they don't have a website. So that means that you're only going to get about 20% of your audience to interact with you by not having a website. So you might not necessarily be losing clients, but you're not gaining the amount that you could be.
Gotcha. The website is just a great vehicle too, not only for people to find you, but for you to express your business culture and your business brand right there to them, and kind of give them that precursor of doing business. We have a lot of clients that are actually all online for business, right? They actually have e-com websites. That is their company. Yeah. And then we have other small businesses that are just trying to use that as a conversion tool to say, I know you moved into the area, you're looking at 3 new dentists, choose us. Can you speak to what websites you see convert and how we design? The authenticity factor is huge. I mean, how do you go about creating a brand and then translating that to a digital space?
I think, like you said, authenticity is where it's at. Whether the platform is social media, whether the platform is a website, it needs to speak to who you truly are, because that's what's really going to capture that business. People want to work with you because they know that your values align in some way or another. They can buy shoes from anywhere. They can buy clothes from anywhere. When it comes to local businesses, you need to give them a reason why they need to buy from you.
It's funny, I hear the word consistency thrown out a lot when we talk marketing and strategy. You need to be consistent across all platforms. But if you're being authentic, then in essence, you are creating consistency by default. That's kind of the narrative the overarching narrative is going to be consistent just because you're authentic. I was talking to Jen Lilly, one of our real estate clients, just yesterday, and she said her decision to post, well, she's using a personal Facebook page, for one. We can link that down below too if you want to see it. She is one of the most successful personal Facebook page builders we've ever seen. She gets a ton of business. She sold 53 homes last year, something like that. Jen, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think when you get over 50, most people just their mouth is that big, and it's all good. So for her being in the business 5 years and then crediting social media strategies to sell over 50 homes is pretty crazy. But anyway, she said, I post pictures of myself, having a glass of wine or being out on my pontoon boat having fun, because that's who I am. I want people to understand me as a person, and if they're gonna be upset that I drink alcohol or something like that, then they might not be a good fit for me in the first place. And I totally agree with her. We had a mutual friend, a colleague, that was getting over alcoholism, right? And they'd been like sober 15 years already. They didn't want that to come out, like it was some sort of thing to hold back. But that's what makes you real, right? Yeah. Now, I'm not saying on your dental website you write a blog about your sobriety, but I'm saying that when you're talking social media, that could be a huge connection to a lot of clients who maybe have gone through the same thing. And so be yourself, be consistent. So now we have, you're online, you got a brand, you have a culture, you have a team that supports that culture. You need a team, by the way, that plays for the logo. I mean, let's face it, hiring will also save or kill your business. Yeah. So make sure that every single person on your team plays for the logo. What I mean by that is that everybody understands and protects the business first. You become a family, but that family dynamic understands that if anyone steps out of not protecting that logo, they're not protecting the family. And in order to protect the logo, that needs to be rooted out and get rid of that person, right?
That little circle of trust. Yeah, and I think even more so with that, not only do they need to be in it for the brand, they need to know and play, their role. And I don't mean that in a bad way. Everybody has an important position, an important part within every team. Everybody can't be Michael Jordan. You got to have a Scottie Pippen.
I was a big Scottie Pippen fan,
right?
Personally, and Horace Grant with the goggles.
Dennis Rodman. So I mean, there's roles for every position, and I know that was something that we worked through for a little bit because, we were talking where we had too many quarterbacks, not enough running backs, not enough receivers. Everybody was trying to run plays, and we just had to kind of sit down as a team and say, okay, let's take a look at what each individual task is and how we can best accomplish that.
You're talking specifically to when Cornerstone hired Bob Bailey, who we can also link ExecuChart down below. He came in as an executive coach and did CBI training, which if you don't know what CBI is, we can also link CBI training down below because there's a free version of that. And it taught us at a core level who each of our employees were and what their roles would best be. And we shifted around, like you're saying, a lot of responsibilities to different people because they were just hands down the better candidate for those jobs, and we didn't realize it because you get going so fast in business and you don't want to slow down, but sometimes slowing down can really speed you up in the long run. And that's what happened with that.
Smooth is fast.
Smooth is fast, fast is smooth?
Yep.
Yeah. Is that a Marine thing? I think that's like a military thing.
I heard it driving one time, so.
That's a golfing term probably, and I'm just relating it to military term.
Pickleball.
Jen Lilly and I actually talked about pickleball as well. Anyway, we'll also link pickleball down below. So moving on, now we have a culture that we love, a brand that everybody's standing behind, a team that's got a synergy going so that they're giving a client a consistent experience, a website that demonstrates that when you come on. And now it's really about finding your audience and really understanding your target market and knowing what they want. The big thing today, and we're doing it right now, is taking our time where we could be out making money, meeting with paying clients, and instead we're in here doing free gold. And for us, quite frankly, it's free, right? We're not getting paid for the time to do this, but we know that the people who watch it are going to get something from it. Sadly, we're not smart enough for them to get probably 3 nuggets from it, but we're hoping 1 nugget of free gold per video. I think that's a pretty easy thing for us to shoot for. And we've gotten some great feedback so far because we're helping businesses along the way. You need to do that for your own clients. You need that website to provide value for your clients so that they know, like, and trust you, because we do business with people we know, like, and trust. We were talking to Greg over at Cascade Tree Works, and I mean, he was providing, right now they have this beetle, right, that's like ravaging Vancouver, Washington, and everybody's trying to get rid of it and figure all that stuff out.
The birch borer beetle.
The birch borer beetle. More news at 11. So what he did, and I love it, he took all the information he could find, all of his background in over 15 years of experience, and he wrote a how to get rid of them, and if they've already successfully destroyed your stuff, how to get rid of the dead trees. And if you didn't want to do it yourself, he'd be happy to come out and do it. And I think that's a great strategy to say, my target audience wants this. I'm going to show them how to do it for free. But quite frankly, what do we always say? We have the time, the desire, the money.
Yep.
You kind of need all three in order to do something in life. And so a lot of times people will have the time but not the money or the desire, those kind of things. And so as a result, he's getting a lot of work from those articles that he wrote because nobody wants to deal with it. But they know he knows how because of the free gold he gave his clients. Is there any other strategies you'd give to find that target market? I know. I love just saying something I'm thinking about and then leaving you high and dry with cliffhanger questions.
No, I think you did a pretty good job. I think, empathy is a big one, making sure that you can speak to your clients on their level, meet them where they're at. They're coming to you obviously for a need, and so you need to be able to not only show that you can fulfill that need, but you understand why they need that need fulfilled. Like you said, give them some free gold so they have they know how to do it on their own. But if not, whether it be time, money, or they just don't want to do it, they know that you're the authority and you're the guy to call.
I think we could go into the fact that businesses oftentimes overcomplicate things a lot, right? Like you don't need a 75-page website. We just took Mark Nelson Oil down from 98 pages down to 14.
Yep.
And I was amazed to see their services were a lot more simplified than what the old website led on. I mean, it was a labyrinth of trying to get you to understand the information when it could be a short, concise, clear call to action.
Yep.
And then now we're targeting those services with marketing to get them onto those landing pages and then get those clients off. So make sure that you're not overcomplicating things. Everything should be specific to a targeted audience, right? So if you're going to do an ad, make sure that that ad only speaks to one audience. And that means that when you're doing paid ads, guys, a lot of times we see Google ad campaigns, they have two keyword, two ads, one list of keywords, and they're just heading to the homepage. I think when you understand how to create a campaign correctly, you start to see what we're getting at here. The right way to do a campaign is to say, I'm going to do 5 services that are very different target markets. I'm going to do 3 or 4 ads per target market that I split test to know which ones are doing well, which ones are not, right? And then I'm going to create keywords for those target audiences for each one of those campaigns. And then I'm going to run those 2 landing pages on my website that are for those audiences. So everything along the way is clear.
Right. And I think that comes back to meeting the client where they're at. If they're, if they're not quite at the buying stage and maybe they're just doing research, you don't want them to end up on a page that's going to, push them a direction that they might not want to go, or vice versa. If they're ready to buy, you take them to a page that's just explaining and has no call to action, you're going to lose a client. Mm-hmm. So make sure that your funnels are set up right. Make sure that you're meeting your clients where they're at within that period of decision making.
No, I love it. And I know we could get hung up on, do SEO, do SEM, all those acronyms we can describe below. But we could talk about how to market the business. I think that's best left for probably a strategy session for your individual business. Mm-hmm. But the one thing that we could tell you that will appeal to every business is you'll have to know what avenue is actually working, right? So I know you do a lot of call tracking. You do a lot of listening to the call tracking to find patterns. I know one pattern that we found a while ago was a dentist was getting random junk calls, and he come to find out people were just searching for their dentist. His ad was popping up because it was a mobile ad. It had a click to call feature. They were just calling him and saying, hey, it's my appointment at 9 o'clock and you're not our patient. So when we took those mobile ads off, which most people off the cuff would say is silly because mobile is where everybody's searching, right? So how could you possibly take a mobile ad off? We found that we actually spent less budget, could cover more area, and got more new patients. So sometimes things are a little counterintuitive, but you have to have the data points to know what you're doing. Oftentimes business owners that we talk to just aren't willing to pay people to analyze the data. And I get that, right? I mean, we don't want to cut any more checks than we have to, right? We're all trying to stay lean and mean. But the problem is, if this isn't working, you should jump ship and get on this thing that is working. But you won't know to do that until you've actually been hurt by it.
Spend a little to save a little sometimes, or a lot.
Yeah, oftentimes what we hear is, I think it's working because we had a couple of good months. So that means if it's not working, you only know it's not working because you are actually being hurt by the marketing you're doing. And I think that's probably why people get a bad taste in their mouth. With us, we always have that phrase that we use, we want to be the easiest company you have to fire, but the last company that you want to fire. Because we don't do long-term contracts, we actually have to work for the client every single month and provide us a value. The only way we know how to do that is to actually look at the data and make sure you're getting the phone calls that you want. So a good way to do this, make sure everything's hooked to Google Analytics. That is a free service, guys. You can make sure that happens. There's plugins that'll allow you to connect your WordPress site right to Google Analytics, so you can see it from the dashboard of your website. What's some other ways that they can track?
I mean, like you mentioned, call tracking is always a good one. I mean, you got things like heat mapping, A/B testing. There's a lot of different ways out there, but whatever you're doing, just make sure that you're staying on top of it and you're, using the data to work backwards and work for you.
Rolling back to call tracking, one thing that I used to hear all the time is like, oh, no, my number's my number, right? Now, I don't hear that too much anymore because that was kind of old phone book, old school. But I don't even remember my mom's cell phone number, right? Like I have to speed dial from my cell phone now. And I think we've all kind of gone that way. So don't worry about, 800 roof. Well, it'd be 7 digits, so that wouldn't be a phone number, but you get what I'm saying. The roof, maybe? Anyway, point is, we have call tracking for some of our clients, 6 phone numbers. Now, these phone numbers are all phone numbers that they can take with them if they wanted to leave Cornerstone. They could actually own the phone number. So it's not something that we're ever holding for ransom. That's like that with any call tracking system you go with today. So it's not like old school phone numbers where if you stopped, they would send it to another roofer like, the Dex phone books used to do. Right. So don't be scared of call tracking, guys. I think it's definitely something that every small business should have.
Yeah, nobody's not going to call you because the number on your truck is not the number on their phone.
I know. And I don't even think they'd realize it. But you'll know if your truck branding is working, and you'll know if the phone number on your pins that you spent $500 on new ink pins with the stylus tips are working. Heyo, all because they have different phone numbers on them, and they all lead to one business, one consistent branding experience. So, man, I know we've covered a lot. We're just kind of rolling here, but this is the mindset of making sure your product is sound, making sure your team is sound, making sure your brand is sound, and then making sure that you actually bring people to a website that gives that culture and branding experience. And then the way that you drive traffic to that website is targeted and efficient. And then you're actually testing the data to make sure you need to know whether you should jump ship or not so that you're only focused on the things that are working. Yep. I think that's a pretty solid explanation of how to grow a business from the ground up.
With digital marketing, I would agree.
And yeah, I mean, you can do that in phases too. It doesn't have to be all at once, but I think that's where grabbing a strategist or a consultant that you actually trust, not a sales guy. You know what I mean? You know the difference, right? Like not the guy that's like, hey, we can put you into this thing. It's only a year commitment. Trust me, it'll work. But the guy that says, hey, I'm not going to put you into this year commitment because you haven't done steps 1 through 3, and our company doesn't actually do 1 through 3. So you're going to need to go find somebody, or here's somebody we trust to do those steps, and then you come back to me, and then I can drive traffic to those pages. Those are the kind of guys that I would love for you to find. Yep. Those are the kind of guys we try to be. So check us out if you haven't already, or check out somebody you trust. But that's really how I think that conversation should go. Anything else before we let these guys go? And
I think that covers it.
All right. Well, cool. That was an off-the-cuff coffee session of bonus free gold?
Hashtag free gold.
Yeah. So hopefully that was helpful for you guys if you're going through. Kyle, that was your question. Was that helpful at all?
It was great. Yeah.
Was that great? All right. Stop posting just on Instagram and get a website, brother. All right, guys. We'll catch you next time on Free Gold.